enjoy your pizza. If you need a drink, we can get you that. Bathrooms are right down the hall. Want to make sure you're comfortable. Feel free to get up at any point. My name is Chris Davis. I am a real estate agent. I live close by in Falmouth, Maine. Kirk and myself are on a team called Places in Maine. And as of now, we're essentially serving the whole state for anyone who is looking to buy and sell real estate. Myself, I've been a realtor for 5 years. It is the absolute best job, and I have had a ton of them. So I did a lot of research on what I might love and what I'm passionate about, and I feel fortunate that I found this career. I was just in a meeting earlier today, and I think we were all talking about how Maine has become a very popular destination for vacation, but also relocating. And part of our job is a bit easy because Maine is such a pretty amazing place. So I feel very fortunate that we get to travel around. The goal of this class is to, or this discussion is to kind of give you some more information, have a lot of time for Q&A. Roland will be stepping in after to handle more of the finance side, which I find in my experience with home buying probably has the most questions. And me, even after 5 years, is where I still have the most questions. But hopefully this will give you a few next steps as well. Let this be a discussion. Jump in at any point. Just to go over what I'm going to cover, who we are at Places in Maine, some reasons to buy, the importance of the pre-approval process from the lending side, choosing and meeting your realtor. I make no assumptions that you'll work with me in the future, but I want to arm you with questions to ask and how to start that process. The steps to close to get that house, to get those keys. I'm going to give you a very brief market update, very brief. And then we'll do some Q&A, and we'll probably save that actually after, maybe until you're done, but jump in at any time, mouthful or not. So, as I said, I'm the team lead of Places in Maine. We are part of Real Broker, which is a North American brokerage. And there's Roland. Reasons to buy. I'm going to put it out on you guys. What do you think? Do you have any reasons why you might want to buy?
Investment.
Investment. Awesome.
Rents are gonna go up.
Rents are going to go up. Yep. Yep. Just think it's a cool idea. I agree. There are many reasons to buy. Some of the ones that we see a lot, rental inflation has driven many people to look into purchasing their homes. So, I think what we talk a lot with prospective buyers is looking at the math of renting versus what your mortgage payment could be. A lot of people want to move for location, so there aren't a ton of rental properties in maybe a more remote or rural area, and maybe you want to have more space closer to the mountains, closer to the lakes. There's obviously a lot of apartments in more urban areas, the different amenities and lifestyle that might offer you. Less limitations with homeownership. Maybe you really want to paint that front door and you can't in your apartment. I find with all the things you can do when you own something, it's pretty nice. Tear down that wall. Or tear down that wall, yeah. But once you find in that wall, you own it. And then I like this quote I just pulled from the National Association of Realtors, our chief economist, Lawrence Young. It is, a monthly mortgage payment is often considered a forced savings account that helps homeowners build a net worth about 40 times that of a renter. And the idea being there, your mortgage is fixed, you're paying down your principal, so just like you're squirreling that money away in a savings account, this is a great way to build up your investment and build some wealth. Now, why do I need a pre-approval? So oftentimes people come to us, hey, I'm really excited to get a house, a condo, an investment, what do I do? Usually the first question we ask is, have you spoken with Roland, or have you spoken with a lender? And why we're asking that is because it's really easy to get big eyes and go on Zillow and be like, oh, I love that place. Did you see the backyard? Did you see the garage? Did you see that West Elm furniture? And we get hooked, and then we talk to a lender, and one of three things are going to happen. Yes, you can afford that house, or you can afford two of those houses, or you can't afford that house. And so we like to get the process from the start to make sure that when you do go on Zillow, you know exactly what you're looking for, so the expectation is set. So having that knowledge is key. When we get into the process of actually looking for homes, you're going to need that pre-approval when we put that offer in. There's so many financing options, which Roland will talk about. So you might think, oh, I'm going to do 3.5% down, FHA. There might be another program out there. You might find that you didn't even know about another program, and just knowing what you have based on your income, based on your work history, based on your credit score, and the cash that you have saved, we can work together to make sure the strategy that we go to offer is going to make you the most competitive as possible. And then just building your team. So parts of our job when we're driving around looking at stuff can feel like we're working alone, but once we actually get together with the lender and with the client, the three of us as an entity are going to be talking a lot, texting a lot, figuring out, hey, they want to see this property, what does it look like? Each property is going to have a different property tax. If it's a condo, it's going to have a different monthly HOA, and all those things are going to affect your buying power. So it's crucial that we have a team all working together and communicating well to make sure when we're going after something, we're armed with everything we need. Choosing your realtor. Gonna be honest, it's a lot like dating these days. We're gonna be texting you late at night, we're gonna be sending you video messages from a tour we just did, we're gonna send you updates from the mortgage world, hey, rates just dipped a quarter of a point, check in with Roland, maybe you can afford a little more, or maybe that house we're looking at is gonna be actually less expensive. And my only point here is just like, interview a lot of people, make sure you vibe with them, because it's gonna be a very intense, concentrated time, depending on how much you wanna put into the process. So whenever we have clients sign up with us, we're under the expectation that we're gonna buy on the timeline that you provided. And if that timeline is like, hey, we're ready to buy now, well, we're gonna do everything we can, check all the listings on the MLS, call all the agents in our network, see what we can get you, and sometimes it might be like, hey, we can go see a house tonight, you know, and then it's just a matter of what's gonna work for you and communication preferences. So experience, trust, and vibe, I think this is the most important. We have a lot of experience in our team. You should always be able to trust your agent. There's a lot of sensitive information you're gonna probably reveal throughout the process, financially, anything else going on at work, in your life. These are all important things on the lending side. And so entering into that with these three is gonna set you up for success and ultimately make the experience fun. Am I going too fast?
Is there a monetary obligation to sign up with a real estate?
Such a good question, and you should always ask that. I don't know of many agents who make you pay up front for anything. We have a 3-page buyer agreement that the state provides us as licensees that we're required to have clients sign up with us when they want to, you know, and that outlines the commission structure. So commission is a very hot topic these days because there was a big lawsuit that came out of the Midwest with realtors. And it's important for you to know how realtors get paid. We get paid when a deal closes. Now, how does the money get to us? Well, oftentimes a buyer is paying a price for a house and the commission is baked into that. And when you sign up with your realtor, make sure you verify what that percentage is and how it's gonna be paid. One key thing about our MLS, which is Maine listings, where we advertise all the listings, that offers on each listing how much the seller is sharing with the co-broker. And so we know when we look at something what that's going to be, and then we can share that with our clients so they know as well. Did I answer your question?
I think so.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to sign up with a realtor and have to pay a fee just to work with them. And
Oh,
then
yeah.
lose that money
Yeah.
if I don't end up finding anything. Or...
I don't think you'll find many that are going to charge you up front.
Okay.
We often say we're not plumbers. We don't send you an hourly bill. You know, sometimes we get the first house for you and it's amazing. Sometimes we work with clients for 2 or 3 years before we get a house, and the expectation is we're in it as long as you want to be in it, and you know, our goal is to get you there.
And generally the way, like, the simplest way to describe the process is the person selling the house, they're working with a listing agent who's working with them, representing the seller. Then the buyer is working with someone else, you know, so in this case, say one of us. When you go in and make an offer on that house, there is a commission already agreed to between the seller and the seller's agent. That seller's agent is what Chris was just talking about in the MLS. That seller's agent is going to say, out of this X percent that I'm charging the seller, I'm going to turn around and give the agent that brings me a buyer a couple of that percent. So that's how we typically get paid. So in that case where you're the buyer, you're not actually paying anything out of pocket, even when we do get paid. It's actually coming out of the seller's piece. There are some times where that's a little different if the seller's listing agent is lowballing, right? He might be offering way under market rate, in which case sometimes, like in the buyer agreement, we might say we need to get a minimum of X percent. And we usually, when that happens, it's rare, but it does happen, we will do everything we can essentially to get the seller to pay that too. So our goal is always to have you not actually pay anything out of pocket to us if we can.
Yeah, great point. Do you have a question? No? Okay, cool. Okay, so the steps to close. This is a really simple graphic of it, but every situation is going to be a little different. Every house is different. Every deal is different. It's part of why our job is so fun, because literally every day is an adventure. But to break it down in its most simplest form, our first step is we're going to get that pre-approval with a mortgage broker, which is going to tell us the budget we can start shopping for. And then from that budget, we're going to look at location, we're going to look at size of house, any other deal breakers you want, and we're going to start the search, which is the second step. So we as agents have a fun app. You say, hey, I want to go look at 1, 2, 3 Forest Ave. We plug it in, we book a showing, we take you to that showing. We're going to get a special code to the door. We're like total secret agents. We're going to walk through it. We're going to talk about it, but not in the house because it's 2024 and they might be recording us. So we're going to step outside and we're going to say, what did you love about it? What did you not like about it? Are you thinking you might want to offer? I think I want to offer. Oh, that's great. Why don't we check in with Roland? Let's just make sure everything's good. And then the agent, particularly Kirk and I in this case, we're going to call the listing agent. We're going to say, what's the action? Do you have an offer in hand? You know, can we offer tonight? Could we get it? And then we're going to get it. So then we're under contract. Oftentimes we're going to have a due diligence period. I think commonplace now, we think of this as just the inspection period, but it is so much more than just inspecting the building. It's inspecting the code file to make sure they've done everything right. It's inspecting the sewer. It's inspecting the air. I often tell clients, like, drive around the neighborhood at 5 o'clock and at 8 o'clock in the morning, like, just so you know what's going on. If you're sensitive to noises, you're not going to live in a busy area. Lastly, I tell people, like, wake up tomorrow and check your gut. Just make sure you still want this. Because if you don't, now is our window to respectfully walk away and retrieve any deposits you got back. At that same time, we're working in tandem with the mortgage broker. You're going to be bringing in pay stubs, and he'll cover that, and job employment verification stuff just to move the loan file. Once we get through that, we move on to closing. In Maine, we don't have attorneys like a state like Massachusetts has to do the closing. We have title attorneys. We just refer to them as title companies, and they're kind of a one-stop shop to make everything work at the closing table. Make sure all the money's in the right spot, make sure the deed is correct, and all the legal stuff that goes with transferring title from one person to the next is taken care of. So we often get a lot of out-of-state buyers who come here and they go, wow, that was so much easier than where we live. And that's just how it is, and it's great.
And can I have a couple points on that too?
Yeah.
So one is back in the, you found your house, you're dying to make an offer stage, you're in love with this place. One of our big roles at that point is to make sure you're seeing everything. Like, okay, did you notice that there was water gushing in the basement? Did you, because often you'll go in there, you'll be like, this is beautiful, I love this place. But we'll look for all the problems and make sure that maybe that's not enough to stop you from wanting to make the offer, but maybe it's, maybe we don't spend so much on this, or maybe we ask for some compensation back because there's this flaw in the roof or whatever it is. We'll do all that sort of stuff, and then what was my other point gonna be? Due diligence, I think. So you make the offer, they accept the offer, right? So now you're under contract. That due diligence period starts. And that's when we go in with big guns inspections, right? If we need to, like, we'll send in a home inspector who will literally check every system in the house. Is it functioning properly? Is it flawed? Was it installed properly? They'll look at the roof, they'll look at the heating, they'll look at the foundation, they'll look at absolutely everything. And as Chris mentioned, there's all kinds of other tests you can do if you want to. All this stuff is out of your pocket, these inspections. You can do as many of them or as few of them as you want. But within that time period, if something scares you away, you can walk away and get your deposit back.
How much does a typical inspection cost?
Up to about $500 these days.
Yeah, so they usually base it on square footage. So I find for like a 1,500 to 2,000 square foot home, it's gonna be around $500. And then if you add on like radon air, radon is a naturally occurring gas that happens in the granite and the ledge, which we have a lot of in Maine. It can cause cancer, and we see a lot of it. I think almost every time now I have an inspection, it's there. And that simple add-on could be another $150. And then depending if it's public sewer or private septic, we often encourage you to have that scoped with a camera, and that could be another $275 to $300. So I like to tell people have at least $1,000 just for your inspections. And then remember, if you find something out you don't like about the house, you don't get that money back. And
You do get your deposit back, but not the money you paid.
yeah, the money you paid the inspector. So that's where we say, like, when we're really ready, you know, we have a little house fund just for the process, you know, to make sure everything is good.
What is like the average like due diligence period, or does it like vary?
Totally varies.
Totally varies.
I would say pre-COVID, I would tell you 10 days, 10 business days, which gives you about 2 weeks. COVID, we saw just a lot of competition. I'm
Yeah.
sure you heard a lot of
Yeah.
headlines, so we were just waving it.
Yeah.
Not waving,
People
like,
weren't doing it, they were just buying.
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
yeah. I think now, this is what I say. If I try to have people say in the process, like, is this something you really need? Great, stick to that. We're always gonna put it in the offer. What we can offer is, I can check with my inspectors, and if I can get them in within 24 hours, are you comfortable if I whittle that down to 3 days? Because then on our end, I'm saying, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Listing Agent, we're gonna inspect, but we'll get it done in 3 days. And why that's important to the seller is because for those 3 days, their deal is uncertain. And nobody likes uncertainty anymore. Everyone
And
wants
no
to
one
know.
else is shopping for their house anymore because
Yeah.
they're under contract.
Yeah. So 3 to 5 right now, we can typically get everything done. The things that take the longest are water tests on wells, because they have to go off to a lab. And then radon air takes about 48 hours from the time it's dropped in the house to when the inspector picks it up. So that's a great question.
And then the whole process from accepted offer to closing table, just as an FYI, is typically from 30 to 60 days-ish.
Yeah.
And a lot of different factors can play in there, but it's a pretty safe timeline.
Yeah, that's great. I think my market snapshot's coming up next.
Wow.
It's just hot, you know? And I don't tell you that to like fear you, I tell you that to like set the expectation. Like, the biggest thing working against buyers right now is inventory. We just cannot build houses fast enough. We need something like 90,000 houses in the state of Maine to meet the demand. So demand will always outpace inventory, which will always potentially drive prices up. So
Which is good for you after you bought the house.
to go back to the investment point, but I think people are still buying houses every day. People are still selling houses every day. So while the media loves to create a frenzy out of this and like scare everyone that it's so crazy, we just enter this process with a little bit of patience and expectation and grace, and when it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And then we all, as a team, do everything in our power to arm you with all the information you need at every point to make the right decision for you. But I only say this to be like, there are ways to slow down the market, and that is to go look at homes that maybe missed the market. So one of our biggest strategies for buyers is like, let's look at homes that are 7 days or more on the market. Because something happened in that weekend. Maybe there was a weather event. Maybe they just priced it a little too high and everyone discounted it for a weekend. But if we can get in there on a Wednesday before the surge, we might have a real opportunity there. So that level of kind of experience and knowledge is what really helps our buyers get something without the media frenzy of the fireball emoji. So you might be wondering, cool, I know all that, like, how do I search? The internet makes it wonderfully easy. Partner that with a realtor who's got great technology, great local knowledge, as well as like our ear to the ground to know when things are coming up in the community.
Chris, do you have a website you would suggest people go to do their search?
Absolutely, and it's so easy. It's just called placesinmaine.com. It does ask for your email, but it is totally hooked up to the MLS. I think it's much more user-friendly, certainly more beautiful, but that's a great place to go to look for real estate. You can never start the looking process too early in terms of what you want, you know? There are different styles of houses, different acreages. Do you want a garage? Do you not care about a garage? There's on-street parking, there's off-street parking. There are all these little check boxes that you'll start to discover are gonna be important to you or not important to you. Write them down, kind of make a, I need this, I want this, I'd love this list, and maybe there's a deal breaker list. We often hear people don't want a split level. I think now more and more people are like, I just want a house. So that's not as
That sounds great.
yeah, it's more square footage. There's actually a reason why they were designed. They're pretty smart. All the different neighborhoods you can go through. Think about what you must have, you're not willing to compromise on. A lot of remote workers are now like, I need a dedicated office space. I don't want to be in the mudroom. I don't want to be in my bedroom. You know, what does that mean for you and your work-life balance? And then just thinking about what you might compromise on. It's a little harder to know right away. I always say, like, let's cast a wide net, and when we get into the house, you might realize, like, oh, I actually don't mind the small kitchen, or the wide open space. It's working for me here. And so we often try not to cross off too much and really let you figure out through the process what's going to work well. That's the home buying process. 17 minutes or less.
Nice work.
Thank you. We kind of color coded today. This is great.
I'm gonna assume that
Plates,
no
you want more pizza?
latecomers are coming, so I'm gonna sneak around here.
There's more pizza.
I think we'll have
You want more pizza?
There is
I'm all set.
All right, I'm gonna hook.
More soda?
Rolling
I would
then.
have a little more.
Yeah, have another.
Okay.
While we change over, any questions pop up?
How do you build your team? Who do you go to first, a realtor or a lender?
That's such a good question as well. It's really up to you. I think you can't go wrong either way. You can research realtors and lenders online. You know, we all hopefully have reviews and other things that you can leverage to verify. But every lender is going to have a realtor they'll probably recommend, and every realtor is going to have a lender you recommend. So,
Yeah, whoever you start with first, their next step for you after an initial meeting is probably gonna be, have you spoken to a realtor, or have you spoken to a lender? So it's gonna be whichever one you start with first, you're both gonna start with both of them pretty much at the same time.
yeah, most realtors aren't going to take you out house shopping until you've spoken to the lender if you're looking for a mortgage.
Thank you.
And would you typically have, like, when we're at the point where we need an inspection, you can tell us where to go for that?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, so we primarily book all of that for our clients, you know. We always say as a consumer, you're willing to pick and choose anyone you want. We have a lot on speed dial to just be like, hey, can we, you know, we do an inspection here tomorrow or on, 2 days from now. So a lot of that stuff, a really good realtor is going to take off your plate. So I think a lot of the stuff you'd be doing during the day once you're under contract is like emailing with your lender and maybe answering some questions from your realtor to be like, do you want to do radon? Do you want to do sewer? You know, and then we'll book it for you.
And in all of those questions, we'll talk you through it as well. We're not just, hey, what do you think? Do you want to do it? We'll say, here's the pros and cons of doing this, and here's why you might not want to. Is there a reason you would want to skip that? There could be. And I think a lot of what our role is as realtors is to take what is a fairly complex process, right? There's a lot of rules, regulations, regulators, moving pieces. As Chris said, every piece of real estate is completely different, right? Even if you have the same exact house down the street, it's not the same exact house because it's down the street, right? So there's a lot going on, and our job is to make that as simple for you as possible, right? We'll let us handle the complex stuff, translate it, simplify it, and let you know what the important pieces are where you really need to gut check and say, wait, this is something I need to take a breath on and think. Or no, this is no big deal. Don't worry about this thing, this because X, Y, Z. But do worry about this thing because this is important. So.
Okay.
There you go.
All right. Excellent. Well, let's see. So, mortgage stuff. I'll introduce myself. First, my name is Roland Yarovsky. I've been doing this for going on 25 years, and we wanted to do something to kind of pull the curtain back a little bit and show folks ways they can get into a home, whether it be an existing home or build a home, right? And so this is a home buyer class. It's not to replace Maine State Housing's first-time home buyer class. If any of you looked into that, that's a 10-hour course. I compare it to learning at the end of a fire hose, right? It's a lot of information, but it is needed in order for you to qualify for some grant monies, right, through Maine State Housing. This course is more about, again, showing you the options around how you can get into housing. And Paul is going to do most of the talking, so I'll let you introduce yourself as well.
I'm Paul. I've met most of you at the door on the way through. I'm the first one that offered you pizza before you got to the other 12 people. I work for Maine Savings. I'm one of the mortgage officers there. I've been doing this for about 10 years, which is crazy because I just turned 21. So about 10 years. I think that our job is two things. One, to offer you all the different options that you have available to you. And then step 2 is to really do the heavy lifting and guide you through the process. This is one of the biggest transactions you're gonna do, and our job is to make that as seamless as possible. We're gonna go over a lot of information in a short amount of time. Feel free to interrupt with questions if you have some, but also everything we're gonna talk about is in the folders that I just gave you, as well as my card.
Okay.
Yeah,
There we go.
we'll look at that. Mortgage 101. So these are pretty generic things, but things that are very important. The better credit score you have, the better interest rate you have, or in some cases, cheaper closing costs that you have, depending on the loan type that you go with. That would include no late pays, no foreclosures, no repossessions. Voluntary repossession falls under that. Meant to add that. And bankruptcies. I do want to caveat that by saying most people know that a bankruptcy is 7 to 10 years will stay on your credit report. That does not mean that you have to wait 7 to 10 years to buy a house. Just want to put that out there. Best way to maintain good credit is to pay on time. Best way to boost your credit is pay down the credit cards. So I'm going to use round numbers in this example, but most of us have credit cards, right? To have a good mix of credit. If you have a credit line that is $1,000, right? You do not want that balance that gets reported to the credit bureau to be more than 30% or more than $300. So pro tip on, I don't use a debit card, I only use credit cards. Act like you didn't hear that. I didn't realize who I was talking to. It's also weird that you can see yourself in the thing.
Yeah.
So on the top of your statement, there's a statement cut date. When that date is the balance that gets reported to the credit bureau. So you just want to pay it ahead of that, because the closer you can get to 0, the more points you're going to get, the better credit score you're going to have. First-time home buyers, I think we'll go over this, but 640 is that magic number. Is everybody here a first-time home buyer, or have you bought houses before?
First time.
I bought one before,
Oh, perfect.
a
Okay.
long time ago.
All right. Well, then you could still be a first-time home buyer if it's been more than 3 years.
Yes.
We'll talk about it. Portfolio loans, there are no minimum credit scores. Easy way to think about portfolio loan, it's our money. Maine Savings gets to choose what happens within limitation to that. But we also, if the deal makes sense, we can make it work on that situation. Good credit is made up of 3 trade lines. You'll hear me say a couple times mix of credit. That is an installment loan, student loan, auto loan, that kind of thing, and credit cards. Got to have a good mix in there to get the best score. Non-traditional credit would be, well, I don't have the 3 trade lines for 12 months or the 2 for 24, but I have rent that I pay every month, I have a utility bill, and then 2 of something else that we can prove. There are some programs that will allow that as well. More mortgage 101. Income and stability. So we look at you having the job or a job for 2 years, 24 months. Now that doesn't necessarily mean, because you're a teacher at Portland High School, that if you left and you went to Lewiston High School, still counts, same job. Now if you were a teacher and then you were like, I don't want to do this anymore, and you went to work at Hannaford, different set of skills. So that would reset. So you do want to avoid those kind of job changes. If you do switch jobs, a lot of times we're going to ask you just what happened there, and you'll have to usually send it to me in an email. That'll work. Locate your most recent pay stubs, past W-2s. Pro tip, we're in January. Most people don't have their W-2s yet. I'm going to ask you for your last pay stub of 2023. It'll give me the same info. If you get Social Security, VA, or retirement, any veterans in the room? Perfect, we'll skip that section when we get there. I'm going to ask you for your award letter. Simple as that. If you have any questions on, like, well, I'm a waitress, so that I have this kind of income, we can talk through those independently.
I'll jump in on something.
Go for it.
Okay, so the two-year income, it's in order to use overtime and things like bonuses and stipends. In order to use those sorts of things, you need to be at the same employment for 2 years. So if you are a teacher at one school, and teacher's probably not a great example, although so teacher, some of them are coaches, right? They do coaching, and that's outside of the typical teacher income, and then you go to a different school, right? And we would only be able to use your primary teacher employment income, so not the coaching, right? So if you stay at one job for 2 years or longer, we can use all of your income, and that was really the point I wanted to make.
Good point on that. To add is some people, I love when this happens, right before they apply for a loan, they're like, oh, I just got a second job, so I can totally afford this payment.
That's right.
Cute, but you can't count it. You gotta be there 2 years. Can't count it.
So 2 jobs.
You can still get the second job,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
just
Oh
can't
yeah,
count it.
feel free.
It'll pay for
Get
the
your money,
inspection.
but can't use it.
2 years on 2 jobs, so you can count both
Yep.
incomes, right?
It's been 2
Yes.
years.
But definitely, you know, I think this is a good time to say, once you apply for a mortgage, don't quit your job.
Or buy anything. Don't go buy stuff.
Don't do any of that. Don't change anything. That's what I tell folks. We good?
We're
Well,
good.
you're saying pre-qualified, so when you run people's credit, if you're doing pre-approval, does that affect your credit score?
Yeah.
It does. It's a hard pull. So we do what is called a tri-pull or tri-merge. We're pulling all 3 credit bureaus together. So you can lose points there, but it's,
5.
yeah,
You lose about
it's not
5
a
points.
ton, and they do come back. So,
I always tell folks, you know, if you're serious about proceeding to buy a home, then you need answers, right? So you should do it. But if you're not serious, then don't do it. It's about 5 points when they pull your credit, and 10 points if you open a new line, right?
and a lot of people come in and they're like, oh, I have a 740, I looked on Credit Karma. Just know that's not right.
That's soft.
It's not close.
Yeah.
So I get that you're going to lose the 5 points, but it's usually in the best way for you, because if you're not there, we can develop a plan to get you there.
That's a good point.
Yes. Okay. So money's needed for buying a house. What do you need, right? So down payment. There are programs that do 100% financing. That's commonly referred to as the first-time homebuyer program. I think everybody here and you fall into that category now too, right? There's
It's
Maine,
been more than 3 years.
yeah. So Maine State Housing, rural development. That's a program that's 100% financing, so no down payment. Then you just have to be prepared with closing costs. The difference there, and we'll get into this a little bit more later, but depending on sometimes the property type, you mentioned investment. If you're buying an investment property, then you need some, depending on the number of units, you'll need down payment monies for that. So when you're thinking about how much you need to save, you know, Maine State Housing, rural development, I'll just give a ballpark, and you could potentially, with the grant monies, it's a $5,000 closing cost assistance, 100% financing, have the seller pitch in a percent or two, you might need, you know, $2,000 to get into a home, right? There are some programs we're gonna talk about where you won't need any, right? But I'll keep going because then I'll just be saying the same thing twice, right?
I wasn't going to stop you.
Yeah, so when you have less than 20% down, you need mortgage insurance. Does everyone know what mortgage insurance is?
Not the same as home insurance. Different.
Why don't you tell us, Roland?
Yeah, it's a risk insurance. I will. It's a risk
Thanks for
insurance.
jumping in.
It represents a monthly payment just like your car insurance does, right? The only benefit you get from it is coming in with less than 20% down. There are a few exceptions, and we'll go over those, right? But that's
Closing costs.
well, you know, I don't think I really said too much about it, but in can I go back?
Yeah, there you go.
There we go.
Magic of
So
technology.
the money's needed for closing, right? Down payment and closing costs. I didn't pin a number on the closing costs. I just did the rural development.
Oh,
State
yeah,
housing,
yeah.
$2,000, but ballpark, you know, let's just say I typically would say somewhere between $6,000 and $7,000 for closing costs and prepays, getting insurance, the whole ball of wax, right? So if you planned on split it, right? $6,500. And then down payment would vary depending on the loan program. And again, with a first-time homebuyer program, a good chunk of your closing costs can be paid by the grant, right?
And closing costs cover pretty much what's in here. It's going to cover the title insurance that will protect the house. Part of that is optional to you, but we always do recommend it for you. We'll talk about that later. the actual attorney's time, the abstractor that does your deed, that kind of stuff.
That's an all-in.
Yeah.
I think, except for the inspections.
Yeah.
Those home inspections, it's a very good point, that would be an
Appraisal.
addition. This would cover, right,
This would cover
everything the financing requires, like the appraisal
Yeah.
and all that jazz. So anywhere from $2,000, let's say, to $6,500 for 100% financing, then beyond that down payment, and we'll that's gonna make more sense in just
Yeah.
a few minutes. Yeah.
How can we
So-
help?
How can we help?
Oh, free money.
Oh, I want that.
I love free money.
Raise your hand if you like free money. I mean,
What's
yeah.
the strings attached?
Yeah.
Hey, we're getting there.
Wow.
It's as good as free pizza.
Does the heat go on?
I think it did. I think it did.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, so go
All
for
right.
it.
So the Equity Builder program is up to $29,000 in free assistance to you. There is an income cap to it, which is in there.
Here we go.
I put them in there.
Good.
So this program, and you'll hear if you're doing the first time home buyer, sometimes you'll hear them say their income guidelines, that this is a separate income guideline. This program, however, is up to $29,000 in free down payment assistance to you, as long as you live in the house for 5 years or more. You do have to put in a $500 investment into this, but only the $500. And then closing costs are not included in part of this. We can talk about different ways to kind of get you there for the closing costs. But this is done by the Federal Home Loan Bank of Boston. Every bank has to give so much back to their community. I think Maine Savings is one of the only or very few lenders in the state that is doing
I think we're the only one.
Perfect, we're the only lender.
No.
Doing it, don't go to
Never heard of
anyone
anyone
else.
else.
That's right.
Don't go to
Don't
anyone
Google
else. This has 3 draws or 3 drops that come out every year, and it's it's May, June, July. There we go. And it's first come, first served. We're required as an institution to give the first 4 loans to first-time home buyers, and then the rest is could be any buyer. We do have to reserve these funds for you, and you can't do that until you go under contract.
Let me jump in right there because, so the conversation, and I think it was you that asked, what should we do first? Get with a mortgage person or a realtor. With this program, it's good to be poised and ready, right? Because it is first come, first served. When the monies are gone, they're like buckets of money, literally. They bring them out or they fund it. I'm not literally.
If they brought in a wheelbarrow of money, I would be going to that room.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So it's not right, but it's like buckets of money, and so when the money's gone, you have to wait for the next bucket to show up, right? And then when they're all gone, it's gone until the following year. They refund it, or they do this each year, I should say. And so yeah, you get pre-qualified, get ready to go, have your realtor lined up, and then keep your eyes open for a property. As soon as you put a property into contract and the monies are available, then you can reserve the funds, and that's where you get locked in to those grant monies. I want to point out that when you look at this, there's an EBP and then a how. We're going over the EBP, and in a minute we're going to go over how.
Okay, so as a realtor, if we have
Yeah.
a client using this and it's April 1st, go under contract, and
Yeah.
then you guys would take over, and what's the process to know if you got the grant?
Yeah, so you reserve, when in order to reserve the funds, you need a fully executed purchase and sale agreement.
Yeah.
And then we, along with the application documents that the borrowers provide, we reserve the funds.
Got it.
And we do that.
So you can go through that process before the month of the funds coming out.
We can't
No.
reserve them until they're
Until the
released.
Okay,
funds
so,
are there.
and that was May, June, July?
Yes,
Okay.
because at the end of August, there's
Yeah,
never any left,
so-
so I remember it.
Yeah, right, and it's okay, so then you reserve the funds and then you document and get final approval, right?
Yeah.
But everything should check out because it's been underwritten and.
Cool.
And we usually know within a couple of days whether or not they'd actually
And
qualify
so
for it.
does the contract date need to be May, or the closing date needs to be May?
So it needs you cannot apply until you have a signed purchase and sale, and then it takes like the 35
Right, so
days.
if we have a signed contract in the middle of April, are we just dead in the water because it's not May?
So the funding, and you're saying May,
It's
It has,
May?
it has varied, but
Yeah.
let's just.
Let's just say this year it's
we'll work
gonna
it.
be May, right?
Yeah.
And this is federal government stuff, right? Have you ever known them to, you know, be like completely transparent on everything? But let me just say, you would have a signed contract, that's dated, the date that they're going to apply for the financing, right? So if it's May first, have it dated May first, and then you have, 35 days. We can work that out, all right?
The other thing,
So when you mean signed contract, you mean with a mortgage lender?
no, with an agent.
So meaning you have made an offer on a property and they have accepted it.
Okay.
And then the other thing I like to bring up on these is you're gonna go through your inspection period, which you should. And if something, like there's radon, they're gonna put something in before you get there and that delays your closing a week, these are reserved for 90 days. So it's not like day 31 it's gone and you gotta start all over.
Do you get this regardless of what type of loan you get?
So we will go over some loan programs we pair this with. There's only a few that we'll pair it with, and it's driven a lot by the property type. But with this program, well, this is now the HOW program, which is very similar. Equity Builder program, both of them cover down payment, right? So we have one program, I'll pull the curtain back a little bit further, we're gonna say this again in a bit, but it's 10% down, no mortgage insurance. So 29,000 would be 10% on a $290,000 house, right?
Yeah,
And
it's
so
kind of
it
amazing.
would be 10% down, no MI, great rate, and then with that program, geez, I don't know if I should share all the exciting stuff.
You're gonna get to it after,
Yeah.
you're gonna ruin your
Well, I'm
moment.
just gonna say, with that program, then there's no limit to seller concessions, right? So you can have the seller pay your closing costs,
That's in your folder.
okay? So this would pay your down payment, seller pays your closing costs. And
Seller's gotta agree to pay the closing costs, but
no, it's a
that's our
legit
job
point.
is to talk them into it.
That's a legit point, and and I'm gonna save a bit more of that information when we get to that,
Okay.
all right? So go for it.
Oh, all right. So the HOW program is the other option, which has a higher income threshold than Equity Builder. This one covers up to $25,000. However, you do have to put 3% of your own funds into this deal. And what I should have said on the other one, on the Equity Builder, is we will pay the appraisal cost for you. With this one, same deal. Money is dispersed the same way. You apply for it the same way. Just you get 25,000, and you have to put 3% in. I don't think I missed anything.
I don't think so. Just one of those kind of like gray areas, and back to those buckets of monies is like the 90-day reservations. What we see happen every year is that like a deal will fall out because of inspections or something. So then their reserve funds go back out as available, right? So it's
And every day
it
as
can-
lenders, we
it
get an
can
email.
drag out.
Tells us how much.
The availability can drag out, is my point.
Oh, we just did this.
There we go.
And we did it all by memory. I'm impressed
Wow.
with us.
Well done.
Aren't we something? And even, it's like 90 in here.
So
there-
can we go through this sheet, because this goes to the two programs, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
So, like, is the one in the gray, like, say, if we, Portland,
Yeah.
how do we?
Yeah, so
the
equity-
medium, household,
Thanks.
So look at, are you looking at Portland?
yeah.
The metro area, right? So Equity Builder, EBP, if there were just one person in your household, the income limit is $66,250. If there's two, it's $75,700.
So if you're earning
Is it-
more than that, you're not qualified for the
Correct.
program.
Yep.
Yep, and then if you did if you earn more than that, you could do the HOW program, and the income limits would be in Portland 99, 480.
Okay, so this is the limits.
Yeah. Now, these are 2023 numbers, because they haven't released 2024, but they'll be in that ballpark. They will not be far off that.
No, in a classic,
No more than that.
no more than that. And to Paul's point, what we generally see is these don't get changed until we're well into it.
Yeah,
You know,
like already processed.
That's right. So this will be what will be used this year to start.
The
right?
other thing to know is, say you are purchasing the house of somebody else, but they're not gonna be on the note to the house, they're gonna be on the mortgage, but they're living in the house, household income. So this is everybody in the house over the age of 18 that's working.
These
But-
programs.
But if
go for
they're not gonna be on the note or anything, is it
Yeah.
really anybody's business?
it is.
It is, because it's
These
a
are-
federal program.
It's
And they're giving you a bucket of money.
they'll take your bucket back. They want their bucket back. You know, and that's really, it's the same thing with Maine State Housing. They want to know household income, rural development, household income. Any program that has an income limit, household income.
Can I check that, like if you say you have a house for a year and somebody moves in? the
No,
house-
that's fine, life's changes.
Okay.
It's
And
not
if
for
they
the whole
kept
30
checking-
years,
oh,
no.
Okay.
It's a snapshot.
They're not knocking on the door each month.
That's right. Well, think of it, I mean, right, yeah. Afterwards, so closing is that, there's 2 points that are important. One is application, there's snapshot of time, and the other is closing, snapshot of time. If you get a big pay raise, this is, and I know this is counterintuitive, but don't get a pay raise
During that snapshot.
during that time, right?
Wait till after.
Wait until after. We just had a young couple that, you know, they're like, oh, I'm so excited, just got a really an awesome pay raise. It's like, great. Now you don't qualify.
Just cost you $30,000.
Yeah.
So that's
It's
a bug.
not a great conversation.
It's not. And you can't
better
undo.
to be at a job under 2 years if it would keep you under that threshold, right?
It's more complicated than that. They when you're looking at income limit programs, there's eligibility, income, and then qualifying income. So eligibility is you can't earn more than this, and you have to include all the income, even if you just started this job a year ago. You have to include the overtime, you have to include all that jazz to make sure you're not over the eligibility income, and then you have the qualifying income that you can use to determine debt ratio and ultimately approve you for the loan. So, you know, that's why we're here. We'll help you through that.
There will be more conversations and questions.
You know, we'll help you through it. We'll say, you know, it's a relationship. You can ask questions. I think you did skip over something I want to go back to real quick. So we're talking about ways to help you get into houses, right? So Portland, some towns have grant monies available to people buying houses in certain neighborhoods, right? So you ought to go check that out for the city of Portland. Any city, I just listed a few here, but they have their own restrictions. Sometimes it's attached to a neighborhood revitalization plan. Other times it's attached to, you know, to income limits, right? So there's another avenue for monies. I had one lady recently that did the Equity Builder program and then got a grant through, in this case, it was the city of Bangor for a revitalization. So it was 29, and I think the grant was 8. I mean, look at that, right? That really helped her. Mm-hmm. And she was going from renting, where the rent was getting crazy, to affording her own house and had a nice down payment. Great program. So check those out. Yeah. Okay, so we kind of broke this out, right?
Yeah.
Move-in ready. It's kind of what you were one of the areas you were getting to, and we're going to move through this quickly, right? Because
So conventional financing is what everybody has heard of, the 20% down. You don't necessarily need 20% down, only if you don't want PMI in there, would you put 20% down. These can be used on 1 to 4 families that are primary residence or investment properties to you, which you're not going to live in. 1 unit, second homes, condos, modulars, and now manufactured homes are okay. All the way back to 1979. You can have a non-occupied co-borrower. So you normally see that where you would have a parent sign for their kids, even though they're not going to live in the house. They trust that the kids are going to make the payments. 5% down is the minimum to them. I would say that it's rare you get an okay with 5% down in this particular program. I would say closer to 10 usually is where I find you would get more of an approval there. 20% of course would cancel out PMI. The thing about these loans is if you did only put 5% down in this scenario, once you get to that 80% loan to value, that extra PMI is going to fall off all by itself. Nothing you need to do. Gift money can be used for the closing costs, but it has to be from a relative, and they are very specific about the relative. 620 is the minimum credit score for this program.
I would just add, this is the only program, or one of the few programs we're gonna talk about that would finance an investment property. So if you were looking at like a 4-unit, this would be, that you weren't gonna live in, just an investment property. This would be the program that would work for you. And that'll, again, loan to value is impacted by the number of units. We can dig into that in detail, but this is, I think probably, typically speaking, 60% of all the financing is done, goes through conventional financing. This is a very standard program.
Government loans. We do VA, which we're going to skip in here because we don't have any. We'll just go right through them, one at a time. Let's start with FHA.
Let's do it.
FHA is 3.5% down. Now, if you were going to have an investment property and you were going to live in it, it's a 4-unit building, you're going to live in one, you could do this program. This does marry up to MISHA, first-time home buyers, and what would normally be $5,000 does increase based on the amount of units in the building, but it can't go over 4. Closing costs.
What is that? What is that number? That's the grant. Right? I just want to say that. What would ordinarily, right? They have a $5,000 grant if it's a single-family home. If you get more units, then the grant monies go up, and that's that component. So it's free money, and it helps with your closing costs.
Same thing with gifts in this scenario. You're going to notice a theme here. Can be given to you, has to be a relative that's giving it to you. The seller can contribute 6% back. So if you went to your agent and you were like, I love the house, I'm going to put all my money in on the down payment, I'm only going to have part of the closing, can we ask the seller to pay some? They can, as long as it's 6% or less of the total sales price. 1 to 4
We have
unit.
strategies to encourage the seller to be okay with that, so we talk about that.
1 to 4 unit, but you have to live in it for FHA. 620 is the minimum credit score, and this program does require that you have credit. They won't allow you to use non-traditional credit.
And I would, to Kirk just brought up a point, prior to 2020, seller contributions were a common thing, right? And with the challenge with the housing supply now, it's like, okay, you have to offer full price and no seller concessions. It just depends on the town. It depends on the property. It depends on how long it's been on the market. So all those things your realtor can help you navigate, right? But these programs just have limits of what they'll allow.
We can skip this one.
Oh,
Rural development. This, we do a lot of this particular one, especially when you marry it up to MISHA, first-time home buyers. This is the one where you would hear people say no money down. Oh, actually it says it there, like I typed it. Gift money can be used to cover closing costs, seller contributions still up to 6% there. This can only be a 1-unit house, and it cannot be a manufactured house. It has to be a stick-built wood house. 640 is the minimum credit score. A couple things to know about this one is it's a rural development loan. So living in Bangor, living in Portland, South Portland, that's not going to work. You can be on the outside, just can't be in there. So if you were going to do this with MISHA, and I think that's a slide in here, we'll talk about, but you can essentially, this was what Roland was talking about with the grant or gift from Maine State Housing. It's $2,000, $2,500 usually you can get into a house, as opposed to the additional or traditional 20%.
something I would add right here, just again, pulling that curtain back a bit for your benefit, all right? And that is, not all financial institutions use all the same investors for each of these programs. These programs have their own guidelines, and then each investor imposes their own restrictions, right? And part of what we do, having been in this industry and worked in this industry for as long as we have, is if someone we're working with comes to us and says, I really need 100% financing, and I want to buy a manufactured home. I know you just said this one won't allow it. there are investors that will do rural development, manufactured homes, but ours won't, right? So part of what we do is, okay, but we do equity builder and others don't, right? So you pick someone, to your point earlier, that you can trust, you can work with, and then you find something you really want. At the end of the day, if we can't help you with it, we're gonna refer you on to another lender that has the program know-how. I think that's important to know.
Oh, Misha, there we go.
Oh, I was just
There.
gonna ask, what does MISA stand for?
Oh, Maine State Housing Authority. Sorry, that's my fault. I know better than to say Misha. So this can actually be combined with conventional lending, rural development, VA, FHA. So you can do it with all of them. If you were gonna do the FHA with the 4-unit, this for each unit, this is how it increases. That's a separate conversation, but I at least wanted to put that out there for you. Grant can be used towards the closing cost. That's the $5,000 that they're talking about, or however much at this point. However, if you're going to take this loan, I'm just gonna use round numbers, 200,000, closing cost say is, $7,000. This will cover 5, you'll have 2 remaining that you'll need to bring into closing with you. It's a much cheaper option for you. Part of that is you must contribute 1% of the purchase price into it, and that is part of Misha's rules. And you have to take that first-time homebuyers class. Has anyone done that yet?
No.
You have? Okay. You can take it online or in person. I find that you get more out of it if you're in person, because you can ask questions. I think it's 10 hours in person, or you can do self-paced online. It's more money though for you to do that. I think they charge $135. And that's all I got. Oh, the
Yeah.
rate, interest rate.
There you have it, yes.
Interest rates are better. So today's rate for 30 years was 6.75. This, if you did this particular loan, is 5.95.
What?
So there is
Well,
quite
that's
a bit
really
of difference.
good.
It is.
It is.
So not only are you saving money by not having to put as much down, but you're also saving money long term over 30 years on that interest rate.
Which is easily 6 figures.
It's
Oh, yeah.
it's a lot of money. There's I would just add to this that, and I hope what you're hearing is there's a lot of information,
Am I
right?
at an
But it's,
event? Why is it so hot right here?
I know, it's warm right here.
77.
Am I so big that I'm blocking the door? I need to lose some weight. I need to lose some weight. So I hope what you're hearing is that there are a lot of options, right? It depends on, I invite you all to think about, one, if you had to write a check every month, you know your budget better than all of us. We'll pre-qualify you for a number, but you're the one that has to write the check. So if you were to come up with a maximum amount you'd want to write a check for every month for principal, interest, taxes, insurance, everything. It's the maximum amount. We can get you into a loan amount that would do that. And then do you want a single family or a multi-unit? And we can find the right combination of all of this stuff and get you the maximum amount of grants for all of these options. But there are a lot of options, right? So we'll keep moving. Let's see.
Here's your moment.
I
You
know,
just gave it
I know.
away.
So can I do the 90?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, so look, this is CU Promise product is a credit union product. So you can't go to a mortgage company, it gets back to that, we're gonna find the best option for you. This program, the 90 standalone on its own is 10% down, no PMI, maximum 50% debt to income ratio, which is pretty high, it allows you to go pretty high. It's meant to, be dynamic. So if nobody here owns a home right now, so I won't go into those options, my mind's going in different directions, but the options that would, that would come into mind for me is that you'd benefit from is that with this program, there's no limit to seller concessions, right? So the seller can pay your down payment and your closing costs. Now you folks would really have to step up to make that happen, right? But let's just say, because I've done this, seen it done many times, you have a home that's been on the market for a while and the person's eager to sell, they're motivated to sell, all right, and they're about to drop the price. They're at that point. You go in, offer them full price, and have them pay your down payment and closing costs. it's just, this program's the only program on the market that would allow you to negotiate that sort of thing. And again, it's just about having options to help you get into houses, and this one's super dynamic. And again, this is the one that we would combine with the equity builder or the HOW. 640 minimum credit score, interest rate today I think is 6.875, 30-year fixed, no points, you avoid all the secondary market fees. It's an awesome loan. We service it for the life of the loan.
I just want to add two things.
Yeah.
One, it does say no limit to seller concessions. That's true, but it doesn't need to be a relative. It could be anyone. You could even take it out of a 401k if you had it, and that's okay in this loan. This is the only loan that you can really do that in because you can't take debt for debt. This is a little different. The other thing I really like about this loan is the money stays in the Maine economy. It doesn't leave and get sold to the big banks. Stays here. This one, oh no, you covered the rest.
You know, there's one more thing I forgot. So, okay, seller can hold a second. So the maximum combined loan to value is 100%. So if you had a person that owned their home and they wanted to sell it, they didn't have a mortgage on it, they could hold a second mortgage for the 10% and then would finance the 90%. Again, it's just about options. They can do, if they can afford it, you can put stuff on a credit card with that program.
You can take
Not
a
big
personal
component,
loan,
but go for it, 97.
What's 100%? CLBV?
Combined loan to value.
Okay, thank you.
So the 97 is a sister product to this. I think it rivals the FHA. I prefer it much more than the FHA here. It is only 3% down. PMI is on it. What we didn't say is that FHA requires that PMI stays on for the entire life of the loan, all 30 years. This will drop off once you hit 80%, which will reduce your payment by however much. 50% debt to income ratio, so it does mirror the CU90 in that, and I would say 50%, to think about that, that's 50% of your gross income, which is your net income. No one lives off their gross income. There is no income limits on either one of these, and there's no geographical limit. So you can live anywhere in the state. 640 is the minimum credit score. We do require that you take a home buyer education class. It is not the same one for Misha. It's a different class. You do take it online, and it's free through Fannie and Freddie. Non-traditional credit is okay in both of these scenarios. However, I have run into this recently. If you have one trade line, then you can't use non-traditional credit. We can't mix and match out of the two.
And can you explain what non-traditional credit is?
Yeah, non-traditional credit would be you have rent for 12 months,
Okay.
lease is in your name, we can prove that you've paid it, one utility bill, usually it's a light bill, something like that, and then two of something else, cell phone and insurance, something that we can truly look at and say you've paid on time every month.
Cool.
Yes.
Oh, manufactured homes. Okay, so there are, I'm gonna
Yeah,
open all
go
these
through
up. We can finance any type of mobile home, whether it be in a park or on its own land. Is anyone interested in a mobile home loan? Double wide, single wide, what's the difference? Yeah, let's talk about it. What's the difference? So it's a metal undercarriage. That's what makes it a manufactured home. So if you look under it, most of them skirtings, there would be a metal undercarriage. It'd be like a frame. That makes it, that would put it into a manufactured home category. So mainstay housing is 5% down, no mortgage insurance, awesome program. That's the best option in my mind's eye. Conventional 95% loan to value, has mortgage insurance, still a great option. Rate's very good. Portfolio, so 90% loan to value, no MI. So there's some turning points that would bring you to a portfolio. It's all about options. So with the mainstay housing, you have the income limits. If you didn't qualify for that, and if the home had been moved from its original location, then portfolio would be the answer. I mean, again, it's just about options, and we'll bring you through that. And I often say our job is to provide you with options. Your job is to pick the option you like the best, right? So we'll figure out which option would be best. We'll give you the options available, and you can pick. Mobile home on leased land, 90% financing, 20-year term. Yep, we do those.
I just wanted to go back into this one.
Do it.
This one, if you're gonna do a mobile single or double, first, they don't go over 20 years, which could bump you down to the other tier. But the interest rate on this is unreal. So if you're 80% loan to value or less, it's 5.95. If you're above that and you can go up to 95, it's 6.49. So that's amazing compared to what rates are.
And then quick clarification on terminology, because I know this really threw me earlier. When we say manufactured home in this context, we're talking about a mobile home. But in Maine, manufactured home also means, like the guys up in Oxford that build stick-built houses, they just build them in a factory and deliver them to a foundation.
modular?
A modular home is often called a manufactured home. That's not what this is.
Right.
This is strictly
For a
mobile
modular,
homes.
you could use any of those programs. We
That we
write
already,
them,
that we
yeah,
previously talked about.
yeah.
And we're gonna go into that a little bit, right? We're gonna go into that a little bit. The distinctive difference is that metal undercarriage.
Right.
Yeah, they're both made in the same places. We used to have 4 manufacturers in the state of Maine, that's why you see so many manufactured homes. Now I don't know how many there are. Mobile Home Replacement Initiative, we'll just cover that quickly. That's if you're already living in a property that was built
If you're living in this,
and you don't want to anymore, then you can get a newer place. But yeah, it's an awesome program. Is anyone living in a 1976?
No,
Or older
okay.
home? No, we're gonna.
I'll move right by.
There are grant monies available to help you get out of it. Okay, so this kind of falls into the category
Well, you
of
should-
investment properties and, so whether you're buying an off-grid seasonal hunting camp, tiny homes is the thing right now. We have a tiny home program. Land only, it's 20% down, so we have all of those options. Yeah. Just depends on what you want, right? All right, so we're gonna, TLC,
Yeah.
what's that an acronym for?
10-11K.
Is that what it is? All right, let's talk about it, yeah. Go for it.
Okay, so Misha is, we've reversed it. Normally this is you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You want me to do it?
Yeah, go for it.
Look, bottom line is, you find a place.
They're here all week, by the way.
You
This is
fi-
why we do them together.
It's fun.
It is.
So again, you see the acronym MISHA, so it has the MISHA programs we've already gone over. This one's if the property needs a little TLC, right? It might need, it has to be cosmetic, it can't be structural in nature, and there's a limit to how long you can be out, 30 days, yeah. So you can't, they don't allow, gut jobs. It's, I really love the place, but I want a new kitchen. It's $35,000, right? 30 days, can't be out for long.
Is that the max, 35,000?
Well, the work can be completed in 180. So, like right now, they couldn't put in a septic, right? But you can't be what is the word? Displaced for more than 30 days.
So this one is in standard government form, it has more restrictions, right? Than some of the other options. So here's the CUP
Yes.
90. Do you talk about this one? Or do I?
Normally you do.
I do, okay, I'm gonna do it.
But you looked at me like you wanted me to, so I'm gonna try.
So I'm gonna start putting a little initial on again, so you promised 90, right? 10% down, no MI, and you've heard the term location, right? So you found the place where you wanna live, you love it, but you really wish it had that 2-car garage, right? It doesn't have it, or it needs an addition, or the kitchen and the floors need to go. This is where this comes in, right? Just gives you, you can see you can do more stuff there are fewer restrictions on this product. It can't be, a total gut job, but there are just fewer restrictions. It says you're not allowed repairs to structural damage. And it says no additions, doesn't it?
It does, but a garage is not considered.
But the garage is not, that's
Yeah,
right, yeah,
it's livable space.
gotcha.
The only thing that I like to bring up on these, you did great, by the way, didn't
Yeah.
miss a point,
Yeah,
is it's 10% of the purchase price plus the improvements. It's not just 10% of the purchase price in this scenario. You can borrow up to $75,000. We do put a cushion in there, so it's closer usually to like 70. because we put a little bit of a cushion in there because, costs change all the time. The other thing is this is handled by us. So like the scenario where maybe you need a septic, it's January. They're not going to be able to do that for you. So we can make accommodation, a reasonable accommodation to those type of things. Again, held in the state of Maine, not sold outside, we will service the whole loan. That's it.
Excellent, yeah, cool, good.
Wait, so you're saying you need the 10% down and you need to bring the
It's
construction?
no, it's
money?
10% of the total amount.
Got it.
So if you're buying 100
Yeah.
and then it's 100 of repairs, then it's 220,000.
And then it has to appraise for the 200.
Yeah.
So you
And
do
we'll
that
know.
after repair value. Cool.
Yeah. So how I've done them is somebody will come in and they're like, I like this. It's in the right school district. The windows are single pane and they all need to be replaced. You give us the quote, we give it to the appraiser, and the appraiser says, great, when it's done, it'll be worth this.
Awesome.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
I need a pointer.
That's right.
Oh, this one's you.
Is it? Okay, there we go. So, construction loans, this is a portfolio loan. This is our money. Portfolio loans, I mean, that's basically, it's our own money. It's no, we're not going through the secondary market. We can do what we want, right? So construction loans go up to 90% financing, up to 30-year term. And you see right at the top, site built, right? That's a carpenter building it right there from scratch. Modular, that's what you're talking about, Kirk. And then you've got a single wide or double wide. We've already covered those, right? The metal undercarriage, tiny homes. In Bangor, there's a tiny home development. I don't know, I can't remember how many houses.
It's a lot. It's like 180 or something. It's a lot of
I don't
them.
know, but there's like 800 square feet. And with tiny homes, historically it was defined by 600 square feet or less by the secondary market. Now that's gone away. The challenge we're running into is there aren't any comps because it's a new idea. So in order to go secondary market, you need 3 comparables of like properties that have sold in the past year. You're not going to find them. So then it's going to go portfolio, it's going to go construction, and we have it, right? So if you have the 10% down, so 90%, there is mortgage insurance, does go away when you pay it down to 80%. Construction program is 12 months interest only on disbursements only during that period. That's meant to help that be affordable while you are still renting. And at the end of 12 months, it just modifies to a fully amortizing 30-year loan, right? So then you're off to the races. Anything?
Yeah, 2 things.
Yeah.
So fixed rates, 1 closing. So during COVID, or after COVID, rates were all over the place. So that made people a little nervous. With these loans, we let you lock in at the time that you're going through the process. Within that first 30 days, you can lock into these, and then the rate stays the same. It's also a one-time close, so you're not paying closing costs for the construction loan, and then paying closing costs again once it rolls to the fully amortized. You're just doing it one time. That was the only thing I wanted to add.
Yeah, I would add, might be obvious, but so part of a construction loan is you can buy land, right? So you can buy everything. And anything you want to build, garage, home, pool, whatever it is you want, that's what a construction loan allows you to do.
And if you already own the land, we'll use that as your down payment first.
The equity can go towards
Yeah.
that 10%. Many people do a land-only loan, which we just briefly touched on. We do them, it's 20% down. They'll do a land-only loan, they'll pay on that for a year, and they'll build a house.
It's going to be a really good thing to consider because we often see a developer or a builder buys a bunch of land and is like, all right, I'm going to build 10 homes. It might go up on the MLS. It's generally less of a frenzy because that builder is just so excited to get contracts. So it's a great, if it's the right area and the right price, a great opportunity for first-time buyers. It's a long process and it's not easy and it's never what it sets out to be because things happen and you need to be flexible, but it can be a great way for you to lock in something. Like let's say you're in a year lease and you have 10 months left, that 10 months might be up and that house might be done. And so it's a great thing to look at.
To your point, it's probably the most stressful thing you will ever do.
Yeah.
I don't know, again, I've done this for a long time, and I don't know that I've ever had anyone come to me at the end of it and be like, wow, I want to do that again.
That was the
No, it's just the opposite. But I constantly remind them as we're approaching that, it's like, okay, but look, you're almost done.
Yeah.
You're going to have 20 years hassle-free, and you get what you want. You're so
the exact
lucky.
house you wanted.
Yeah,
You
you're
know,
not walking
you're
into
so
someone else's
lucky.
problem.
So what are the stressful parts about it, like picking the paint?
It just
and
takes a
covers,
long
or-
All that
Delays.
stuff, delays,
Yeah.
picking all the stuff.
Costs go up.
One example that I remember the lady said, I heard her talking to her husband, and she's like, she was ripped about needing to pick out like the colors of hinges. She's like, if I get asked one more thing,
Oh, yeah.
I am gonna freak out, right? So, but
But
it's
to some
all
people,
about-
that's their dream, right?
Yeah.
I wanna pick everything.
It doesn't turn out that way in the end, I can tell you.
Yeah, halfway through they're like, I'm done, pick whatever. It
That's
looks
right.
great.
What color? White. I don't care, you know. But yeah, but it's the delays. That's a big part.
Yeah.
You know.
So is it the money is different than buying the land?
So you can buy land, and can build a house all with one loan. Is that
Oh.
answering your question?
Yeah.
Or you can split it out into two steps. You could do a land only loan today and pay on it for like, a period of time till you build some equity, and then do a construction loan and pay the land loan off
With the construction loan.
with the construction loan. So you can do
They
it
get
all.
rolled together.
You can do it all, yeah. You can do it all one time, or you can split it into two parts.
And in that year, you can't live on the land. Okay.
It's your land. You can do whatever you
I
want.
guess you could live in a tent out back.
Yeah,
You
camper.
couldn't make a
I'm not
permanent
in Maine,
structure.
it's too cold.
You can do whatever you want. It's your land, but you'd need the cash to do it.
Yeah.
But if you land, you buy land, you do whatever you want. I've had people live in a camper. I had one fellow for 2 years while he built, with 2 daughters, 2 teenage daughters,
Oh.
wife.
I bet that was fun.
While they built their house.
There's the example of stressful for you.
There's a
That's
lot
what comes in.
of, different town ordinances, we get a lot of people like, oh, I wanna go put this tiny house over there, and it's like, you can't do that.
Yeah,
We
that's
have
a
to
lot. You
check
gotta
with
lean
the
on the
town,
realtors.
there's a
The
lot of different
loan's not
things.
gonna care, but the town might.
Yeah.
So part of the construction loan, like the land loan, we're just gonna, confirm it's a buildable lot and it's a conforming lot. We're gonna confirm that, and then it's your land, you do what you want. And then that's when you go to start building, that's when you're gonna you need a building permit, you're gonna make it conform.
And usually if you call it, like we're doing a land loan, we'll ask you what you plan to do with it, or I always ask you what you plan to do with it. And then if somebody says to me, I wanna put a tiny home, I wanna put, especially in Wells or down there, I wanna put a double wide or a single wide, the town doesn't allow it. So we always usually send you back to your realtor to ask what the town allows.
Well, and as part of a construction process, you're gonna need a lot of information. One of them is a building permit, and that's gonna ferret through all of
Yeah.
it. Yeah. The town's gonna tell you, yep, or no, or whatever. Good questions.
Don't do it, Devin, don't do it.
Turnkey.
Turnkey, okay, so, and again, we're just sharing ways to get into houses.
I think you went backwards.
Did I?
Yeah.
Are you talking about turnkey or am I? What do you wanna do?
I'll chat about it. You can go all the way down, there's like
Yeah.
7 of them. There you go.
Oh, there.
Oopsie. All right, so turnkey is kind of what you talked about earlier. So a builder is building a house, and you've decided, I like that house, I want to buy that house, but it's not going to be a construction loan. So we're not actually going to finance that house until it's 100% complete. You've received the occupancy permit for that house. Then we'll close on those. That is a longer process because you're waiting for them to build the house. Sometimes that's the stressor, is the waiting. But it will work with any of these programs. So what you need is a builder that has available houses to really do this, which is kind of where we're running into. But basically, easiest way to remember it is it's an end loan. No one gets paid until the end, and the house has to be done.
Yeah, I would just add that, okay, this is where your realtor can help you, right? Because these are spec homes, right? If a builder has a subdivision, right? And you see the advertisements, build to suit, right? So then your realtor can go to the builder, negotiate the purchase, you sign a purchase and sale, but there's no house on the land, right? So it just has a closing date of far out, right? And you're under contract, and they're gonna start building your house. And when it's done, there you go.
Are you locked into a rate at that point, or is it
No,
whatever the rate is?
good question, really good. You can lock into a rate for 45 to 90 days.
But it's
probably
usually
gonna
you'll want to wait till the end.
Probably gonna take a while. 6 months to a year to build a house.
to a year, depending on how
Yeah.
much you're changing or how close you are if they've already started.
Yeah, even modulars in manufacturing homes, same, they're taking a while. Okay, so I'm
We've already
gonna
covered
quickly
this.
cover this, because, yeah, we have, so, we're already going over home inspections, appraisals, that's what we're gonna do as part of the financing to determine that what you're buying is, we're gonna ask for the 3 comparable sales of like properties that have sold within the past year to, establish that, the market supports the purchase price. Really, that's it.
You do not get the appraiser, that's done on our side.
We order, it,
We'll do
yes.
it.
Homeowners, yep, you get homeowners, right? And you get a quote at the beginning and a binder to close with. Title insurance, look, there's 2 types of title insurance, lenders and owners. Lenders is required when you finance. It protects you against title defects. Owner's title insurance is optional. It's a great idea to get it. It's a one-time insurance premium that protects you for the lifetime you own the home and beyond. So like even something as simple as, you buy a home and the neighbor comes over a month later and says, your fence is going on my property, and it turns into a property line dispute. Owner's title insurance, the owner's title insurance will step in and reimburse you, keyword, for your attorney's fees to defend you in court, and cost of moving the fence if you ever had to, right? It's like any other insurance, you hope you never have to use it. But it's great if you have it. So, next steps? There you go.
Where are you gonna find a realtor?
I know. The good ones that you can trust are hard to find, right? Seriously, it's, you guys do a great job. And so that is our presentation. In the steps, right, is you get, if you're serious about financing, that this is your time to start looking, then you would want to get pre-qualified, so you know what the payment would be ballpark, right? You know what you need for monies, you know what you qualify for, because some of these grants are getting ready, right? I mean, it's the end of January, they'll be here